This report looks at the latest superstore development in South Manchester, and then at other types of modern retailing and at some more traditional forms, including local shops and those in town centres, and discusses the way retailing has changed in recent years, causing a dilemma for the planning system. Over recent years, there has been a marked trend in some types of retailing towards larger shops in order to increase efficiency, the range of goods available, and to achieve economies of scale. These shops need a large floor area, ready access for trade vehicles and sufficient car parking close at hand. Consequently, this type of retailing, shops that sell food and other convenience goods, is tending to look for larger sites and has found it convenient to move out of town. For the establishment of out-of-town stores derived in the first instance from the desire to lower overheads, especially rents. From the retailer's point of view, accommodation and position is becoming paramount. They assert that much of the attraction of out-of-town shopping hinges on what might be regarded as the shopping environment, the physical layout of the stores, their cleanliness and design features. They require the opportunity to build or occupy floor space of simple configuration, often all on one level, the availability of immediately adjacent single-level car parking under operator control, and a main road frontage. There is little doubt that the car-owning public appreciates out-of-town shopping where the car can be parked easily and conveniently. Out-of-town shopping is now becoming a way of life for shoppers not only bulk buying for food, but also in the home improvement sector, especially in DIY, although carpets and furniture, particularly at the lower end of the market in the flat pack area, are also well established. Pressures to open up new locations for shopping have increased dramatically, and demand for sites for superstores and retail warehouses is likely to continue. Pressure for out-of-town retailing applies across the whole of Great Britain. For the most part, proposals are in and around the major cities and towns, where the greatest populations are to be found. Another feature of the proposals is that they are close to motorways or other well-established road networks, sited so that they are easily accessible to substantial urban populations. The demand for out-of-town retailing is coming from a wider range of trades and for larger schemes. The new wave of traders looking for freestanding stores, for example for toys, sports goods, electronic and motoring goods, poses an increased problem for the planning system. They argue that their products are no less bulky than the majority of sales from DIY warehouses. At the same time, access for the car-borne shopper and for servicing purposes is often more straightforward than in town centre situations. Car ownership has increased dramatically over the last 20 years, and the car-borne shopping public has emerged as a clear majority. The primary contributors have been the broad mass of middle-class people living in the middle and outer areas of the city, and in particular family groups where the wife goes to work. Bulk buying of groceries has been facilitated, together with car ownership, by increased use of refrigerators and freezers. The number of households in Britain with a freezer grew from 6% in 1971 to 42% in 1980. The trend towards bulk buying is linked to the growth of female employment, which has resulted in households tending to have more money to spend and less time in which to spend it, leading to a reduction in the number or frequency of shopping trips. The widespread suburbanisation of the population during the last 2 decades has perhaps been the most important background consideration for retail planners in recent years. Traditional shopping habits with regular trips to local corner stores for small quantities of goods have declined in suburban areas with relatively high car ownership and large numbers of working women. Despite the trend towards larger stores, there continues to be a need for the services provided by smaller shops, which cater for the daily casual needs that are not met by larger stores. Also the needs of many elderly people, the infirm or disabled, mothers with young children, and those on lower incomes tend to be catered for in easily accessible shopping locations. Out-of-town stores are fine for those with cars, but are generally inaccessible to those who rely on public transport. Town centres need to maintain their diversity and activity if they are to maintain their vitality. Retailing in city and town centres has tended to move towards comparison shopping and away from convenience shopping. The process has resulted in the division of shopping into two distinct trips for those people living in the suburbs. One journey concerned with the acquisition of convenience foods and other goods, often in bulk, and the other trips involving more specialist purchases in town or city. A fear among local authority planners is that changes in the structure of shopping provision will result in underutilisation of existing facilities and a considerable loss of consumer expenditure in town and city centres, causing a reduction in the level of services available and in the access provided for the disadvantaged groups in society. There is the belief that there is a relationship between the retail function of a centre and its other functions, and that the success of the latter would be adversely affected if the former were to decline and the centres become characterised by blight, theft and violence. The source of government advice on retail developments comes in the form of Circular 2186, Policy on Major Retail Developments, Town and Country Planning Direction, and Planning Policy Guidance Note 6, Major Retail Developments 1988. Policy statements issued by the Secretary of State give stress to a presumption in favour of development and the government's commitment to market forces in establishing the following advice. It is not the function of the planning system to inhibit competition among retailers nor among methods of retailing. They contend that competition in retailing benefits the public by allowing new retailing development and the modernisation and the improvement of existing shopping centres. It seems that the emphasis has shifted away from control towards allocation of land use via the operations of the market, and the onus seems to be on objectors to say why a development should not take place rather than on a developer to say why it should.